Do you think Michael Jackson did what he was accused of? I remember being in the car and listening to the verdict of him being innocent during the trials. I wasn't listening to him in his prime, born in '92, so I feel like I am biased. As I'm older, I feel like he is innocent though, but definitely didn't feel like it then. Dude made no qualms about enjoying spending time with children in his bed. Yes. A grown man should never have a sleepover with kids who aren't his own. Something sus probably did happen. The older I get, the more I feel it did happen. The odds are yes. The behavior equals yes. The accusations point to yes. These things are incredibly hard to prove. But adding in immense wealth and power makes it impossible for us to ever get to the truth. The hardest part of it all is watching people get themselves into knots wanting to believe otherwise. If he was an average Joe, he'd have been done like a dinner. TBH, I absolutely believe it. No grown man would ever seek young boys to hang out with, let alone have sleepovers in the same bed. If you heard any regular man in your neighborhood doing this, police would be at his door ASAP. But because it's the king of pop, people want to give him the benefit of the doubt. So strange. He abused those children. Because there is no way for the most famous pop star to pay parents' kids to sleep in his bed and not to be abusive. Even if he never did anything sexual, he abused them. Because he was putting these kids into insane positions they couldn't understand. Grown men cannot have innocent sleepovers with children. There's no world where his actions are fine. The most damning thing to me was the housekeeper who was uncomfortable when being interviewed, talking about finding little boy underwear around the house and stains on the sheets from the bed where Michael had been with the boys. The evidence is fairly overwhelming. Where there's smoke, there's pedophiles. Wait. No. But absolutely he did. And if the thought, but how could such a horrible person continue being so successful, even after their misdeeds came to light, comes to mind. Just remember Chris Brown viscously assaulted Rihanna in a car, beating her head bloody and senseless against a dashboard, and pled guilt to it as a felony in court. He then went on to win 16 Grammys. And to have 10 songs go platinum since. Apparently. No one cares if you're a slimy piece of shit. So long as you can sing and dance kinda good. Watch any number of documentaries about it. Listen to any number of victims who have come forward about it. Read any of the many police reports about it. He was a child molester. He was a child molester. Yep. I always find it icky when people celebrate him. Yeah, he was a talented musician. But little boys in his bed? That's a bit much for me. I'm sorry to say because I was a huge fan too, but he def did it. If it looks like a duck pedophile, quacks like a duck pedophile, walks like a duck pedophile, then there's a good goddamn chance that it's a duck pedophile. I was too young to be a Michael Jackson fan. Dude died the same day I graduated grade 6, but I've watched a couple documentaries and whatnot about him, and he was a very strange man, I think. Maybe not necessarily strange in the diddling kids type of way. But dude definitely had a weird thing about children that I can't fully get on board with. Probably. It's most likely worse than we would guess. If you've watched any of the documentaries that discuss his early childhood and teen years, you can see what a fucking monster his dad was. I'm not sure if he ever did anything wayward with a kid. But it really seemed as though he was just trying to relive another childhood. Not sure anyone would have been able to live a normal life with his father. Yes, I do. Maybe he didn't use his penis and he claimed to love the kids. But he messed those boys up really well. I tend to believe the victims of abuse. Statistically, they're far more likely to tell the truth than not. If you read everything he's accused of by different people, I have very little doubt about his guilt. I'm not a jury member, so I can say he's guilty if the evidence meets my standards. Yes. He was a child molester. If 50 unrelated people accuse you of something, you probably did that thing at least a couple times. Watched the documentaries with the accusers. Watched the Oprah interview following the documentary. Answer: yes. Sue, I used to think he was innocent. But Michael Jackson did have vitiligo. And one young child drew a picture of Jackson's penis and was accurate regarding the location of the color variation of it. That said enough to me. Absolutely yes. I have no bias. I'm not American, nor was I a fan. But obviously I knew who he was and knew his music. I was never a fan of him having exotic animals as pets. I thought that cruel and set a precedent for others with money who wanted to be like him. All the childish put-on voice and just strangeness in general was alarm bells. So to them jump to pedophilia wasn't so far-fetched to me. And paying the kids and their families off. Well, that's never a good look for an innocent man. As for being found innocent, OJ was found innocent. Doesn't mean he didn't do it. Oh hell yes. Also, he was not found innocent of anything. I believe he absolutely was very mentally ill, had PTSD, and was mentally and emotionally stunted from childhood abuse, but the stuff he did with kids is not okay. I want to point out, though, those parents are also fucked up for leaving their kids alone with a rich stranger. WTF is wrong with them? Here's what I know as fact. A child was asked to draw MJ's genitals and the drawing was sealed. MJ was asked to show his genitals. The two were then compared and matched. Fact. Now, I don't know if he did anything physical with or around children. But I will say that the fact a child knew what his genitals looked like is enough for me to say he shouldn't be hanging around children. Period. Let's think it over for a second. A guy like that has the ability to pull any woman he damn well wants, yet he chooses to have little boys around. That's pretty much Peter Pan syndrome gone haywire. I remember watching an interview with a private investigator who worked for a plaintiff in one of the lawsuits, and he was asked if he thought MJ was a pedo, and his reply was that not only was he a pedo, he was the king of all pedos whose whole life was set up to make it easier for him to have access to kids. Why pay the first kid $20 million if he is innocent? I would fight it if it was a lie. A payoff shows guilt. Absolutely. Yes. Unequivocally. Yes, 100. Yes. I also don't know if he could comprehend what he was doing was illegal, immoral, etc. He was a tragically mentally ill person due to the extreme violence and abuse he was subject to as a child. He was never allowed to be a normal child and always under the microscope. It doesn't excuse his actions. Didn't he settle out of court? That's different than being found innocent. The way I see it, if some dude down the street had the same accusations, same habits, same settling out of court, same all that stuff, people wouldn't be debating if he was innocent. They'd assume he was guilty and treat him accordingly. What about the parents that sent their kids there? I always wondered why they let their kids share a bed with a fully grown man.